Hello! Today we're going to talk about date tracking in SharePoint. Date tracking is a core concept when it comes to SharePoint lists. Generally, we're all familiar with date tracking concepts. We deal with it every day. We're thinking in terms of upcoming due dates, dates that may have passed. We get things like email reminders when something's past due, and we have some things that we look at. This is just how we manage projects and calendars in our work. So we're all accustomed to working through dates and managing things that way. So we're going to look at how to use those concepts in SharePoint, and we're going to do some highlighting, flags, filter views, and talk about email alerts. So now, let's get SharePoint smart. Okay, we're just going to start with this regular SharePoint list view, and I've got a couple of date columns, a title column, and a status column here. And we want to look at what we get out of the box with SharePoint, things we can do quickly and easily. So I've got a column I'm going to work with here, which is due date, and you'll notice some of these values are in the past, some of them are future dates, and we want to do a little bit of formatting. So the first most important concept is we don't want just this gray on white. That doesn't demonstrate a concept to us very easily. We want to use a little bit of formatting to draw out information and make it really obvious in terms of upcoming dates versus past dates, that type of thing. To do that, it's really easy. You just click on the column header, go to column settings, and format this column. They show you a couple of different options here, and you just want to pick the format dates option. And you can tell immediately it applies some rules. Now, what you get immediately, you want to change those colors. So it did do color highlighting, but we want to edit the rules. So I'm going to click Edit Styles, and I've got three things here. Whether or not the date is before today, it's today, or it's after today. Now, typically in terms of due date, I'm concerned if it's past the due date. So I want to make if due date's before today, I want that to be in pink. So I'm going to shift the colors to make the concept that I want to apply. If it's today, we'll switch that to yellow, and then if due date's after today, that's fine. That's an upcoming due date. So I'm just picking from the options that I get here right in SharePoint. And I can just click Save, and immediately, without any kind of complication or anything like that, I've got a significant improvement over what I would get otherwise, just with the plain date column. So that's column formatting with out-of-the-box SharePoint options. So that's a good start. Now, a very similar concept to that we could use is view formatting. It could be that I'd really like to highlight the entire row and not just that column. And that's also pretty easy to do. So we'll just do that as an example for our next step. So I'm going to come over to my view selector in the upper right. And at the bottom of your view selector, you're going to see an option to format the current view, and I need to do conditional formatting. Okay, and at this point it still doesn't know what I'm looking for. It has all the rows highlighted in gray. I need to add a rule. Okay, and it says, okay, well, what's your rule? And I'm going to say, based on a column, I wanted to look at the due date column, and then it asks choose a comparison. And we're going to say if the due date is greater than, and it knows it's a date, so it says is after. Okay, so it's actually being really smart here. And then choose a value, and notice I have this dynamic concept of today. That's important. So I'm going to say today. So if due date is after today, that means we're fine. And we can go with the green color concept again there. Okay, so our after today dates look that way. And then, of course, we want to have another rule. So we'll do add rule, and we'll say if due date is before today. And that means we're past due. So I'm going to switch that to pink. It's pink color. And once that's how I want it, I can just hit save. Now it's kind of busy. I have a lot going on. Typically, I don't use row formatting a lot because of this. We don't want to have too many colors or it's going to start to look really ugly. Now, if I don't like that, I'm just going to take this off. Let's just say, you know what, I don't want to do that. I've got some other formatting going on. I can just delete it this way and save, and then we get back to a more conventional view. So usually you use one concept or the other. That is, you would use column formatting, or alternatively you could do view formatting if you want to actually highlight the whole rows. So those are options for doing some formatting using out-of-the-box SharePoint. Okay, the next thing we're going to look at is we do have some additional kinds of formatting we could do using another tool. So in my site here, SharePointDashboards.com, we have some templates for that as well. So we'll just look at some alternatives. And you just go to SharePointDashboards.com, click Get Started, and we're going to look at first the date highlight option. Okay, and it shows me a preview right away. What does this do? What is it going to give me? So I'm going to stop the preview, and I'm going to tweak the colors a little bit. So go for a little bit lighter green, and let's do red. Let's make it really jump out. And then for the text color, I will change that to white as well. And then I can control the font size and stuff like that too. So this is kind of an alternative to what you get with out-of-the-box SharePoint. And I can even pick font family. This is not an option that you would normally see in the SharePoint interface. So it's just another alternative, gives you more options. Okay, so once I have that looking how I want, I just have to hit this copy button. And what I can do is, instead of using out of the box, I just go to format this column again. And instead of using their options, I'm just going to paste in that code. And that's saved. And we'll just do a quick refresh. And you can see those. So I'm not advocating for this particular format necessarily. It's just an example. Kind of looks like Christmas. Okay, so let's go to another option. So another option would be to do flags. Maybe we want icons as a concept instead of what they're giving us. Again, this is not one that's out of the box with SharePoint. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do late flags. They're actual flag icons, or actually I can do whatever icons I want. So I have a little green flag, red flag, that type of thing, and I can even come into this icon picker and I can select whatever kinds of icons I like. I could do happy faces, whatever I want. These are actual images that I can select from, and again, I can adjust the font size to whatever I like it. I can adjust the border color. Let's just go ahead and make that kind of a dark gray. And this gives me a little preview that helps me see what it's going to look like, or I could take off the border if I want it. So it's just a different kind of concept. Just depends on what kind of look you're going for. And you just copy the code and come back over here, go back to the column formatting settings, and we're just going to replace the formatting code with our new code. And it's just a different kind of look. I kind of like this one a bit better. It's a little bit less busy, but you can see that it adjusts the flags accordingly. Okay, so let's go to another example. Okay, another example we could do is how many days until it's due. So instead of showing the actual date, I want to know, is this in 7 days from now or 10 days, or if it's in the past, maybe I want to show how many days since that happened. Okay, so that is date till due. Here again, we see a concept right away, so we immediately understand what is it we're doing here. Okay, so I'm going to stop that preview, and it just gives me a formatting example. Let's make that font size a little smaller, and then you can control the width of it to whatever you want. Let's see, let's go for a little bit lighter pink. Make the colors a little bit more muted. Just see if that looks nicer to us. Okay, and so I've got that set the way I want. I've got the width how I want. And maybe we'll even make the font color a little less dark. So this is a more muted look and feel. So I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come back to SharePoint, and this might go nicely next to the original column. So this till due is actually a calculated field, which is just a copy of the due date. So maybe I want to show a couple concepts right next to each other related to that date. So if I go here, I can do format this column. I can format a calculated column just the same way, just paste in my code. And there we go. So now it's showing me the number of days until that date comes, that type of thing. I see these are flipped actually, but that's easy to fix. So you can just pick out your icons, but we actually want the red flags on the older dates. But you get the concept there. So there's a few different formatting options. Okay, now the next thing that we want to do is take a look at creating views based on dates. So rather than just look at one view and try to make it accommodate for every concept, that's not a good idea. It tends to get busy and confusing. We want to be a little bit more focused. So really what we want to do is create views, say for the upcoming dates, and then for the past due dates, that type of thing. So the way you do that, you come in here, and the easiest thing to do is do save view as. Okay, so I'm going to do save view as and say upcoming, and it just makes a copy of this view with all those settings, and then you're going to modify the view so that it follows the rule that you want here. I just want to see the upcoming records. So in order to do that, you come back and do edit the view. It's going to pop open another window. So I immediately close down the other one, and we're going to say filter, and we want to do where the due date is greater than, or we could do greater than or equal to. Let's do that. Greater than or equal to, and then there's this concept of today. So you have to put in square brackets today. So make sure it's formatted just like that, and then SharePoint will understand relative to whatever that current date is. Okay? Okay, now we see the records only. These are filtered for the upcoming dates. And then I can make another view similar. I can do save view as past due. And then I just modify the view so that it's doing what I want. So do edit current view. Again, it pops open that window, so you don't get too many tabs going. You just want to close that down. And then it's really simple. I just come down to the filter, and this time I'm going to say is less than today. When the due date's less than today, that means it already passed. Whoa! It brought me back out to different things. So hold on a second. There we go. So these are dates that have already passed. So notice you can see all the pink formatting there, so you know that that works. All right, so let's go back to our original view that we were looking at. Okay, another thing that comes up with dates, especially when you're thinking about past due and that type of thing, is you might want an email notification to go out if that's going to occur. And let's take a look at what SharePoint provides to you in that regard. Now, there is a very basic alert me function for emails, but it doesn't account for date changes, that type of thing. It really just accounts for record updates in response to that. Very few options at all. So that's not a good way to handle emails related to dates. There is another option with Power Automate. So in this ribbon toolbar, you have this automate option. It's referring to the Microsoft Power Automate platform. And they will let you set a reminder and based on the date. So in here, it's smart enough to know, oh, maybe you want to do a reminder based on due date. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Let's see what that's about. When you pick this option, what the platform is doing, it's going to use a template that it has behind the curtains, and it's going to create an automatic email notification workflow that'll be executed according to your rules. So first of all, just ask for some permissions. Will you let it use these different parts of the Microsoft 365 platform in order to perform this functionality for you? So you just say, yeah, sure, that's fine. It's all related. And then it asks for a name because it's going to create a flow. Each workflow in Power Automate is called a flow. And let's say this is for 5 days before. Okay, so you'd say, get an email reminder 5 days before. You want to give it a name so you can find it in your list. And then this is it. So this is handy because it's going to do it quickly. But the trouble here is I don't have any other options or additional configuration by creating the role this way. But we're going to take a look and see what it does. Okay, so it's created this flow for me automatically. Now, according to what I told it to do, I'm going to get an email report that's going to come to me 5 days in advance of whenever one of these due dates. So that's going to happen every day. Now, let's see where that was created in here. So I'm in Power Automate now, and there it is. There's the flow it created, and we can actually take a closer look and see, okay, what is this thing it created? What's going on here? Okay, so there it is. I can edit, and we can take a look at what happened by doing that. This says 1500, so that's kind of like a 24-hour format. It means 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I could, of course, change that, and you can modify this after the system creates it. So I could hit edit, and I could drill down into that, and I could actually change the time this occurs, that type of thing. So this starts to get into some kind of gnarly details and concepts, more developer-oriented configuration and things like that. Now, basic flows, you don't have to be a developer, but some of the things that you're going to see in here are advanced concepts and get a bit complicated. It's not the type of thing that you would likely want to manage, but it is useful just to take a peek to try to understand what's going on. I told it to do this 5 days before, and you can see where that configuration is becoming part of this flow. So there's a series of steps that it's going through, and there's some variables here. It's doing some math on the dates, and you can just kind of drill down and expand these options just to see what's going on. I can hover over this filter query, and what you'll find is that it's checking the due date to see if this condition is met. It's greater than equal today, less than 5 days, that type of thing, or the date is 5 days from now. So it's a bit tricky. This would be really difficult to modify, but Power Automate is what you have available to you sort of automatically as part of the Microsoft 365 platform. Pretty steep learning curve, generally a challenging way for you to do email notifications. Okay, so that being said, you might be wondering, well, what's an easier way to deal with emails? What else is available? Another option to you that I would recommend and that I use a lot in building solutions for SharePoint is a third-party tool set, which is Ultimate Forms. And you can take a look at that at their website, infowisesolutions.com, and you can drill in and see solutions. The advantage of using the third-party platform is you have a streamlined and simplified email alert interface that you can use to create email alert rules, that type of thing. So if you do want email notifications and you want to do it in a way where you don't have to use a really kind of difficult developer-oriented editor to derive those email alert rules, but still have that fine level of customization, if you will, that would be the type of option you look at. All right. So we took a look at some date concepts, different things you can do. So, what are the takeaways? How do you approach strategy as it relates to dates? Well, the most important first thing is just to take advantage. What can I do quickly and easily? We know that just plain dates in SharePoint, it doesn't demonstrate a lot. It's not obvious to us which dates are past due, which aren't. So for sure, you want to at least do some basic formatting. Take a look at those out-of-the-box options just to make the dashboard look more attractive. Make it really obvious when dates are in the past or in the future, that type of thing. The next thing we were talking about were different options. You've got an additional tool set available. You can use the SharePoint Dashboard Maker to do even more date and formatting options on those dashboards. So that could be really useful. It's definitely something to check out and experiment with. Another thing is building views, filtered views. Go ahead and break things apart. Instead of trying to look at all your records in one view with all the dates combined together, where it tends to be a mishmash and you've got a lot of different concepts going on at the same time, along with the status and other kinds of indicators, go ahead and make a filter view so you can just have a link to that and just look at the past due items all in one set, the future items all in one set, and that way keep things clean and simple and it doesn't become overwhelming. So those are some good options to think about. Next time you're working with any kind of date-oriented tool in SharePoint or any kind of tracking you're doing in SharePoint related to dates, be sure to take advantage of some of those options. And maybe you have some other ideas. So go ahead and leave me your comments. Let me know if you have questions or ideas about things you can do for date tracking in SharePoint. Hope you found that useful. We'll see you in the next video.